I'm Adam from Roots to Fruit. Today is Wednesday the 22nd of April 2020. Now, over the last few weeks we've all had to make quite significant changes to the way that we live our lives. We and our families have had to adapt to a different situation that has presented itself to us. But in that adapting, we can take heart from the fact that some of the organisms with which we share our planet have always adapted and changed to the situation that they find themselves in. And today we're going to be considering one such plant, the champ of adaptation, the holly. The holly is a plant that we're all familiar with. You've probably got a holly in the grounds of your school somewhere. You might even have one in your garden. You'll certainly find them in parks and in woodlands. And if you've got a particularly old church near where you live, you'll find a holly almost certainly growing in the grounds there. Now, a holly is the master of adaptation, and the adaptation comes in the way that it produces its leaves. Its leaves are something that we're all familiar with. That spiky example that we have on the Christmas cards that we see. Now, what we don't often appreciate is that the holly has to work terrifically hard to put those spikes onto the leaves. It has to use lots and lots of its energy to make those spikes. But it would rather use that energy in doing other things. It would rather use that energy in growing up towards its energy source, the sun. It would rather use its energy in producing fruit so that it continue to have little baby hollies all of its own. So, if the holly is having to work so hard to put on those spikes, why is it doing it? Well, the answer is it's trying to protect itself. And we see that particularly down here in the lower branches. Here, the spikes on each of the holly leaves are particularly pronounced. They're sharper and there are more of them. But as we move up the tree, we can see that those leaves become less spiny. What's happening? The plant is adapting itself to its environment. It's responding to its environment. Down low is where herbivores can get at it. Sheep and cows can munch on the leaves. So to protect itself, the holly puts on particularly spiny ones. But because we don't have giraffes wandering around in the wild in Great Britain in 2020, nor long-necked dinosaurs like Diplodocus and Brachiosaur, the holly doesn't need to protect itself higher up. And so it doesn't invest the energy in the spines. It invests them in fruit and in growing towards its energy source, the sun, instead. Now, there is a way, using some simple numeracy, that we can measure the rate of that adaptation. And I'm going to show you how to do it. The first thing you need to do is to find your holly bush or tree, and using some scissors, select 3 leaves from the bottom around where your feet are and snip them off. Then move up a little higher and select 3 more, snipping those off too. It's important that we take 3 leaves because that gives us the fairest representation across the whole plant. Finally, reach up as high as you can and sniff off your last 3 leaves, putting them safely to one side when you're done. Now we have our leaves, we need to count the numbers of prickles on each of them. These are the leaves that we snipped off from at the bottom. On the first leaf there were 16 prickles, on the second leaf there were 16 prickles, and on the third leaf there were 17 prickles. That gave us a total of 49 prickles. And we did the same with the leaves that we took from the middle too. On the first leaf there were 12, on the second leaf there were 9 prickles, and on the third leaf 13 prickles, and that gave us a total of 34 prickles across all 3 middle leaves. And finally we did the same thing with the leaves that we took from the top. There was 1 prickle on the first leaf, 6 prickles on the second, and 5 prickles on the third, and that gave us a total of 12 prickles across all the top leaves. With these numbers we can do some simple numeracy to work out how the tree is adapting. Let's take the bottom leaves to begin with. We had a total number of 49 prickles on those leaves. We need to find the average number of prickles though. So we take 49 and we divide it by the number of leaves that we cut. In this case it was 3. And so that gave us an average of 16 prickles on every leaf at the bottom of the tree. And we can do the same thing with the other leaves too. In the middle it was 34 prickles, so we divide that by the 3 leaves and it gives us an average number of prickles of 11 across the leaves that are found there. And finally our top leaves, well there we had 12 prickles. Again we divide that by the number of leaves, which was 3. That was the number of leaves that we took, and that gave us an average of 4 prickles in total for leaves that are found at the top of the tree. These average numbers are really helpful in us understanding how our holly is adapting as it grows. We can see by taking these averages that from the bottom leaves to the middle leaves, on average each leaf is losing 5 prickles. And as we move from the bottom leaves to the top leaves, it's losing on average 11 prickles. In the Harry Potter stories, Harry's wand is made of holly, and it is truly a magical plant for no other reason that it teaches us that no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can always adapt, we can always overcome to protect ourselves and to protect those people that we love around us. So go out there, do some numeracy with that holly and have fun with it, and I'll see you again soon.